Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and this week I've been driving the 2023 Toyota Corolla GR Core. Up front is a 1.6 liter 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, and down below is a 6-speed manual transmission. Now I am super excited to be making this video for two reasons. First of all, I have driven a GR Corolla Core almost identical to this earlier in May. That was my friend Tyler's car, and I only had about an hour to spend with it and get to know it, and that was sort of a first impression video. Now I've spent a full 7 days with the GR Corolla, and so this is going to be a lot more in-depth. I have a lot more to say, some good and some bad. The other reason I'm excited to be making this video is just because this car is fun. It's always fun to be driving a fun car. But if you'd like to submit your vehicle to be reviewed by me, you can head on over to my website, zackprato.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form, takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 1.6 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder under the hood, producing that headline-making 300 horsepower. That's right, out of this little 1.6 liter, you get 100 horsepower per cylinder, which is staggering in today's market and for something at this price point. But don't worry, we'll be talking about price later. Boost doesn't really start doing anything until about 3,500 RPM, and to really hit peak boost, you're gonna be up towards 5,000. This is a rev-happy engine. You have to rev it out in order to really truly reap the benefits of that turbocharged 3-cylinder. It's all top end in the GR Corolla, and that's to be expected, but definitely something to get used to if you're not used to it. Like I said, paired to it is a 6-speed manual transmission. It's a close ratio manual, so it's different than the outgoing manual Corollas in the past. It does have auto rev matching if you'd like to turn that on. It's called IMT. The shifter throw is great, the clutch is nice and light, and overall the operation of it is pretty decent. However, with that 3-cylinder, you do have to rev it out quite a bit just to get it going. So you might stall it a little bit here and there, but it's not a big worry. Last but not least, the GR Corolla is of course all-wheel drive. That's what GR4 means on that side skirt, and you can adjust the all-wheel drive system. So whether you want 30% up at the front and 70 to the rear, you can also switch it to 60% up front, 40% to the rear, or put it into track mode. And this particular GR Corolla Core does have the limited slip differentials. However, that's part of the sport package that also adds upgraded brakes. So if you see bigger brakes on a Corolla, it has the limited slip diffs. Fuel economy. Over my 380 some miles, I averaged 22.3 miles to the gallon. Now, you can look at that two ways. First of all, for a 3-cylinder, it's not good. It's not great. However, I have been driving this GR Corolla like you would drive a GR Corolla. So, could you probably hypermile this thing and get a lot better fuel economy when staying out of boost and short shifting it? Yes, of course. But it's a turbocharged all-wheel drive hatchback. Any red-blooded human being is not going to be driving it like that. So 22 is a decent number to expect. So how does it feel to actually drive a GR Corolla? It's very fun. It's zippy, and the handling is insane. You could take any corner at any road legal speed, and it is not going to break traction. In the rain, it won't break traction. It is flat, it is planted, and you won't drive anything else like it. It is superb. However, this is where we're going to start that little title of a double-edged sword. A double-edged sword is a term basically meaning when you're pointing one sharp edge at your enemy, you're also pointing one back at yourself. And so it's the good and the bad. So what I mean by that to start off with is the ride. The ride quality is pretty bad. Although it is insanely grippy and flat, it also is a very rough ride. And so I took this on the Sack Lunch Cruise this year. Thank you to everyone that came out to that. And after that, about 3 hours collectively in the car, I had to take some Advil because my back was killing me because of the ride quality. I had never had that happen before in a press vehicle. So if you do plan on daily driving it, you're gonna have to learn to be okay with a very, very stiff ride. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a completely digital gauge cluster. And again, this is its own double-edged sword. I like the layout of it. In the center, I do get a tachometer, and I can change the gauges on either side to a couple of different options. I wish I got more options and more customization. I wish I could make the tachometer horizontal and linear, but I'm not complaining. What I am complaining about is the boost gauge. Although it does record vacuum, which a lot of boost gauges don't, it is numbered in 0, 1.5, and 3.0. And then in the center, it says times 10 PSI. So that really means 0, 15, and 30 PSI. Why didn't they just remove the decimal points and then leave it as 0, 15, and 30? Why did they need that times 10 and add the decimal points? It's not a tachometer. You're not trying to fool me into thinking that it's bar. Why? I don't know. I also get kilometers down to the bottom right, kilometers per hour. Not really sure why I get that. It's nice, but unnecessary. One more thing about the gauge cluster is that when you start the vehicle and it's cold, this warning will light up and say avoid excessive acceleration because of temperature. Now, if you read this quickly, it appears to say avoid acceleration due to excessive temperature. That's not what it says, and so I would freak out almost every morning thinking, oh my God, this car's overheating, and it's actually quite the opposite. It's too cold. So the wording of that message is just a little strange and annoying. On the steering wheel, on the left, I have my controls for that gauge cluster screen, as well as my volume, voice commands, and phone options. And off to the right, I have my cruise control settings and skip track. So this does have adaptive cruise control, which is interesting in a manual transmission. I don't know how I really feel about it. When you're cruising at speed, it's fine. It obviously won't shift for you, and when it starts to slow down, it'll start lugging itself pretty bad. So just be mindful of that if you plan on using it. I do like the GR badge down at the bottom, and the overall steering wheel is wrapped in leather, and it's okay, but it's not great. Off to the left, we have my gauge dimmer switch, automatic high beams, odometer and trip button, heated steering wheel, heated windshield wipers, and then my IMT button, which is easily hidden by either the steering wheel or your kneecap if you are slightly taller. Moving on to the door, we do have the power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. And moving into the center, we have the infotainment system. This does support wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and it is Toyota's very new, very modern system. I think it's really easy to use. It's very colorful, but again, everything has a downside. At random times, it'll just say updating and blank out the entire screen. It only lasts 2 or 3 seconds, but it was crucial for me when I was trying to get going, leading a cruise of about 30 cars, and I couldn't go anywhere because my navigation was completely blocked out by the updating screen. I also had this happen to me in the Sequoia that I had, so it seems to be a Toyota issue. This also has the JBL speakers. I don't love them. They are fine and decent, and anyone who buys one of these long-term is probably going to hook up their own system anyway. The backup camera is fine for a vehicle in this segment. It's a Corolla backup camera, and to me, it's okay here. It's when it's put into a $110,000 car, that's when I start to get slightly annoyed with this backup camera system that Toyota uses. But for now, in the GR Corolla, I think it's on brand. Then we do have 2 climate control vents and the hazard switch and the climate controls themselves. Something missing here is dual zone climate, something that the Honda Civic Type R does get. However, it does a good job. Then we do have a wireless charger down below. I personally have not had very good luck with Toyota wireless chargers. I have an iPhone 14 Pro. My brother has a foldable Android. I forget which one, but it's a newer one. And it'll charge our phones for about a minute and then drop them and start flashing. So I have not had any luck at all using this wireless charger. Off to the right, I do have a USB input if you do want to do wired CarPlay or wired Android Auto. I do get my heated seats down here, and then we come to the drive modes. So there's a couple different drive modes here in the GR Corolla. Of course, we have normal, sport, eco, and custom. And here's what you get to select if you do want to make a custom drive mode. I just automatically put it into sport mode and call it a day. Then we have the shifter. The shifter I think looks really good and presentable. It feels nice and easy to shift, and overall is a relatively pleasurable experience. Then we have our all-wheel drive setting. So like I mentioned, you can either switch it between 30% front, 70% rear, 60% front, 40% rear, or track mode, which I believe is 50-50, but don't quote me on that. That's what I was told, but I can't find any hard evidence that that is the case. Then we do have cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' model test here in the 2023 Toyota Corolla GR Core, and unfortunately it fails, just like the other one that I tested. Then we don't have a center console, and this on my long drive the other day for the Sack Lunch Cruise 2023 got kind of annoying. I didn't really have a place to rest my arm when I was just sitting in 6th gear. Now, there is a big benefit. The cup holders can actually be further back and lower. So if you do drive around with cups in your cup holder, it's not going to impede the shifter, which I think is really, really great and definitely a step above the Toyota Supra and the GR86. But you don't get a center console, so there's really no place to lean if you're driving far distances or if that's just kind of your driving style. So again, double-edged sword. The seats are, you know, here. Like I said, my back really hurt after a long drive, and maybe that was the suspension, maybe that was the seats, maybe it was a combination of the two. I'm not quite sure, but after a while, these do start to get a little stiff and uncomfortable. However, if you want to talk about stiff and uncomfortable, let's hop into the back. This is one of, if not the biggest downside of the GR Corolla, is this back seat. This is my seating position. My knees are smashed into the seat. My head, even without the sunglasses, is coming real close to the ceiling. These back seats are pretty bad. And to be fair, this is across the board when it comes to this generation of Corolla. I had that Corolla XSE for a while. Same story there. Not good. Not good at all. I do get a center console, 2 cup holders. That's the only thing going for it. Let's talk about cargo space, because doesn't get much better. All right, so we're on the back of the Toyota GR Corolla, Corolla GR, whatever you want to call it, and the button is in here off to the left. Once we are back here, as you'll notice, the floor doesn't go down at all. There's no big lip, and so you lose out on several inches of cargo space. If they would have brought the floor down, this would be a lot more usable. And so you might be asking, what's under there? Well, the battery. The battery is right there. We could lift up this styrofoam tray, and that's the battery, which removes, I don't know, 6-7 inches of cargo depth, which is kind of annoying. You also don't get a spare tire. You just get a tire inflator and a can of Fix-A-Flat, and that's it. That's all the space that you get. You do have these very deep pockets on either side because the battery isn't down there, but that's it. And so a big argument that's always made is that, oh, this is more practical than a GR86. And it probably is, but not by the margin that you're thinking of. This is one of my biggest gripes of the Toyota Corolla GR. I don't understand why the battery couldn't go under the hood because the 3-cylinder is so small, but even the 4-cylinder bigger engine ones, they have it back here as well. And this was my big complaint with the XSE. So unfortunately, this is just the way it is. And so it takes a lot of the practicality out of the GR Corolla. One last thing, closing it. So they give you these handles to close it, but these struts have the power of Thor in them. And so if you try to wing it closed, you got to really slam it like it owes you money. There you go. Closing the GR Corolla. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I think this is one of the best qualities of the GR Corolla. This is supersonic red, and it really, really comes alive more than I thought that it would. It's a very attractive car and a very attractive color on the car. I do like the blacked out wheels with the big red brake calipers. I think it really fits the part, and the wide body really does it for me, which I wasn't quite sure that it would. However, with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Toyota Corolla, or GR Corolla, for the last 7 days. Well, I loved it and hated it at the same time. When I was in the throttle, when I was going for it, when I was driving this car like Toyota meant it to be driven, which is at the limit for fun, it was an absolute blast. It was way quicker than I thought it was going to be. It handled so much better than I thought it was going to be. This is, bar none, a driver's car. End of story. That's it. I feel incredibly cool walking out to this. Everyone has stopped me and said, how did you get a GR Corolla? Where did you find this? I've never seen one. So many people told me they had never seen one in person yet. I was the first person to show them a GR Corolla at all. My UPS driver, shout out to him if he's watching, asked me how I got a hold of it. One of our Amazon drivers stopped to take pictures of it while delivering a package. This car gets eyes, it gets people excited, and it makes people happy, most importantly, including the driver. But there's a term in comedy known as committing to the bit. When you do a comedy bit or you're trying to stick to a joke, you have to commit yourself. If the audience isn't quite laughing as loud as you want them to be, you can't just back out and say, oh yeah, that's not funny, let's keep going, let's do something else. You have to commit. You have to believe that it is funny and that the audience will catch up eventually and they will find it funny as well. The GR Corolla makes you commit to the bit. You have to want a hardcore driver's car. And if that's what you want, that's what you get out of the GR Corolla. But I have so many people that comment and told me in person, oh, it's the dream daily driver. And to that I say, no, it's not. I would say it in a much nicer way, but it's not comfortable. After a long drive, I was not excited to hop back into it. It beats you up, it challenges you, and it's unfriendly. But that's what you want in a performance car, right? I think where people get messed up on thinking it's the best daily is because it's a hatchback that has cargo space and a back seat. But as we tested, the cargo space and back seats are by far the worst part of this car. But this is more hardcore than the GR86. I would say even more hardcore than the Toyota Supra, at least in terms of the physical exhaustion I've felt after a long, intense drive. This car is a hardcore workout session with no brakes. You can chug all the electrolytes you want, but this thing's gonna beat you up. And you know, for some people, that's what they want. That's what they really, really want. But for me, I keep bringing the price back into it. Almost $41,000. I mean, with tax, title, and fee, you're way up into the $44,000, $45,000, and that's even if you can find one of these at MSRP, which is, well, impossible. So when I see stories of people buying these for $50,000, $55,000, $60,000, I scratch my head quite a bit. I can't help but think about the BMW 2 Series that can be found for a similar amount of money. That's going to be a much more luxurious experience. And for that $41,000, you're still stuck with the interior of a Corolla. It's not top shelf. So that to me has been the hardest pill to swallow. But if you want a hardcore driver's car that is really going to impress you on a twisty road or in a performance setting, the GR Corolla is the best out of the three performance Toyotas. But if you're just looking to buy a $41,000 car to daily drive, this isn't the one. At least for me. Maybe I'm just getting too old. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Toyota for sending me this vehicle for a week. I was excited to drive this car and give my full thoughts on it. And I'm also excited to check out the brand new Prius. That will be next week's car. Also, huge thank you to, of course, Drive Shop for facilitating the delivery of this vehicle. And, of course, the Midwestern Automotive Media Association for just being awesome and connecting the dots. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.